This is Dad Life. It's how we live 24/7, 365. Check me. Gas station glasses, don't care what the masses think about me with my sweet goatee. I'm rocking my Dockers with a cuff and a crease. I got that St. John's Bay and a clip for my piece. I look nice. I got dozens of dollars and that's right. It goes straight to my daughters and my wife. I'm a miracle dad, making magic with the checkbook is a talent I have.
I roll hard in the yard with a 60-inch cut. Zero turn radius, my neighbors say, what? They be driving by, peeping my landscape. Yo, these greens got nothing on my manscape.
Hydrangeas, begonias, crepe myrtle,
Ornamental turtle.
hold up, is that a weed in my fescue?
Aw, nah.
round up to the rescue.
It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Take my daughter to the party, it's the dad life. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Shooting vids of the kids, it's the dad life. Roll up to the splash pad, 10 a.m. My whole entourage hops out the minivan. We splishy splashy for an hour or two, then it's back to the house, prepping for the barbecue.
Brats, dogs, racker ribs, whatever. Get me on the Weaver, man, nobody does it better. Call me Lord of the Grill, I'm king of the coals. Nana's secret recipe, you know how I roll.
1080p, 16:9. I'm rocking man cave status with a screen like mine. Keep your peanut butter hands off my 50-inch Vizio. Pop up the corn, roll the Disney video.
Don't you dare close your eyes.
We got Aladdin, Jasmine, Abu, the genie. With kids like mine, everybody wants to be me.
Sing a night song and then it's off to bed. This is the dad life, no more to be said. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Hit the mall, coaching ball, it's the dad life. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Playing rough, fixing stuff, it's the dad life. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Yeah, you know how we do it, it's the dad life.
Oh, I love that every time. I think that's 13 years old, and every time I absolutely love that. Well, today is a very special day. I'd like to welcome those of you that are online, those of you that are here. Can I have all of the fathers, would you please stand? We celebrate you. Let's give it up for all of these fathers. We see you. We see you. You're doing a great work. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. What you do matters. Appreciate you. Thank you, men. Today we're going to talk about fathers, and we've been walking through the book of Proverbs, and it is so practical, and we're going to do that. This is a message that isn't just relevant for fathers. This is a message that applies to all people. Now, one of the concerns that I have is that you and I live in a day and an age that is increasingly tearing down and decreasingly devaluing masculinity and manhood. You watch TV shows or sitcoms, and dads are the buffoons with beer bellies. They're the butt of the joke. So I think what I'm noticing in society is that manhood is under attack. And manhood is even being redefined. And I don't think that's by accident. I think it is very strategic. You say, what do you mean by that, Eric? I think that you and I live, we're part of a larger story. And there's an arch enemy that fears fathers rising up, being fully alive and fully engaged in their critical mission of fatherhood. Matters profoundly. So the arch enemy wants to squash you. God wants to call you to rise up, man up, Step into your masculinity and your manhood because it matters. You don't need a pacifier and walk around feeling weak. No, no, no. Your children and your family needs your strength. I'm always going to call manhood up and value men. And so when I see the assault on manhood, it makes me angry because I recognize it is an attack of the enemy. It's an attack of the enemy. So why does manhood matter? Because when it is absent, the impact is significant. I could have built a whole message on this. I had researched way too much. Let me just give you a snapshot of some of what I looked at. When masculinity is absent, when fathers are absent, 63%, let this sink in, 63% of all suicides are from fatherless homes. 90% of all runaway children are from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from fatherless homes. 75% out of 10 children, 7.5 of adolescents that are in right now in this very moment, in drug treatment centers, 75% of those boys in drug treatment centers are from fatherless homes. 85% of men incarcerated, 85% of men that are in prison right now are from fatherless homes. Men, you play a significant role, and I want to call that out in you, and I want to call you up. Regardless of what society wants to squash your manhood. I want men who are dangerous, who are fierce, who are powerful, and who are unashamedly Jesus followers. Men that turn up the volume on love. Not turn down the volume on love, turn up the volume on love. Strength, confidence. Not pride, strength. He's made you strong. He's made you powerful. When you lead your family out of strength and power and love, it benefits all of them. Your whole entire family feels safe and protected and cared for because you're a warrior and you're in the fight of your life. And if you sit down and you check out, the consequences are substantial and significant. How many of you like, I don't know about you, but I love going to the lake or the water, and I love a calm body of water, and I take my boys or my kids sometimes, and we'll take this big boulder in this calm body of water, and we'll take a boulder, and we'll throw it in the lake. And when we do that, there's this ripple effect. Men, you are leaving a legacy, good or bad. You're marking your children. This is not a passive thing. This is an active thing. It's actually happening. So the Bible talks a lot about legacy. It talks a lot about legacy. Proverbs 13, it says this, 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance. But notice what it says, to his children's children. Now, it includes financial, but it's not just financial. It's far more reaching that. In fact, good fathers don't just think about today. Good fathers think today about tomorrow. What kind of seeds am I planting today in my children so that they can reap a harvest in the future? See, you and I are making decisions, fathers, for our children that are going to have a ripple effect. We're planting seeds that we're going to reap a harvest in the future. Now, Now, men, you play a significant role. Now, let me just briefly say this. Mothers, you play a significant role as well, equally. And God designed men and women to raise children. It's God's design. In a way that together they reflect the nature and the person of God. In a way that neither can create on their own. God made Adam and He made Eve, and together they represent God's character in a way that neither could do on their own. I could blow you out with statistics, and you know that to be true, regardless of what people say. Now, we're going to look at this ancient book. It's a book of wisdom. It's the book of Proverbs. It is filled. It's like a treasure chest. Imagine you found this treasure chest on the beach one time. It's a treasure chest full of profound wisdom and insight, teaching us how to live. In fact, the book of Proverbs features men and talks about men more than 26 times in it. And what I find is interesting is that not one time in the book of Proverbs is it critical of manhood or is it condemning of manhood. In fact, it's the complete inverse of that. It speaks of the glory of fathers. In fact, let's talk about it. First of all, the glory of children. Proverbs 17:6 say, grandchildren are the crown of the aged. I mean, you know this to be true. You've been with grandparents. They whip their phone out and they say, let me show you my grandkids. Oh my goodness, there he is. There's Johnny right there. Look at Johnny, and he's so cute. The glory. Grandchildren are the crown of the aged, and the glory of children. Dad, your little children look up to you. The glory of children is their father. I remember I would go on work sites with my dad, and we lived in Michigan, and so, I mean, the streets and the sidewalks were always like busted up because of the cold weather, and my dad would do concrete work, and he'd take a sledgehammer and a crowbar, and he'd have to crush the whole driveway with just a sledgehammer, and he was so strong. Actually, he was incredibly strong. Very strong. Huge hands. I mean, just huge fingers about like this big around. No joke. I mean, he's just huge. And he was so strong. And my dad could do anything. He could do anything. He could, and I just looked up to my dad. In fact, my car would break down, and I would pop the hood, and I would look at it, and I don't know what am I looking at? I mean, that's just what men do, right? When your car gets in trouble, you pop the hood, and some of you actually know what you're looking at. I look at it, I don't know what I'm looking at, okay? It's an engine, and what do? You know what I do with my car? I call my dad, because he can fix it. Look up to my dad. The children do that. Proverbs 20 says this, many a man claims his own loyalty, but who can find a trustworthy man? A righteous man who walks in his integrity. A righteous man who walks in his integrity. What's the results? What's the byproduct? How blessed are his sons after him. How blessed are his daughters after him. How blessed are his children after him. Fathers, you are modeling for your children. Do you seek God? Do you put Him first? Do you attend church regularly? Do your children see you reading the Bible? Do your children see you praying? Do your children, when you walk out of the grocery store or someplace and they gave you $20 extra, do you say, wow, man, this is awesome. Look at this. I get to keep $20 extra. Or do you walk back in and say, you know what, you gave me $20 too much? What are you modeling? Integrity? Because you're leaving a legacy. You're not making decisions in isolation. Fathers, your most effective message is the one you live. So how are you living? What are you reproducing? How do you treat the waitress when she brings the wrong order? What are you modeling? Dads, my dad was so gracious and so patient with me. I remember I hadn't had my license maybe a year, and I got into a car accident. Anyone ever been there? And I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, got into a car accident. And you know what my dad said? First things out of his mouth. Are you okay? He wasn't thinking about him and that his insurance is going to skyrocket now and now we got to get another car and all the complication. The first thing he thought about was me, was like, are you okay? And he was so gracious and so patient. It's so convicting to me because sometimes I'm very impatient with my children. I tell my children, don't get into an accident because our insurance is going to triple if you do, especially with your first year driving. And it's convicting to me how patient and gracious my dad was and how impatient at times I can be with my own children. Convicting. See, we're to train up our children. We're to invest in them. Proverbs 22, train up a child. Notice the intentionality of it, and the way they should go, and even when they're old, they will not depart from it. The Bible teaches that the father is the head of the household, which means that it's the man's responsibility to disciple his children, to train them up. It is not the job and the responsibility of the government to do that. It is not the responsibility and the job of teachers to do that. Although those both can play a significant role, it is primarily the role of Ephesians chapter 6. There's a word in here. The first word is what? Ephesians 6. First word is what? Fathers. Do not exacerbate or provoke your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and the instruction of the Lord. Men, you have the power to shape the lives and the dreams and the destiny of your children in a profound and in a significant way. Listen to Counselor Norman Wright. He says, your father is still influencing you today, probably more than you realize. Your present thoughts and feelings about yourself and relationships. Wow. Are you aware of the magnitude of the responsibility? It's not just about you. You're leaving a legacy. Are you intentional? Are you passive? Are you checked out? Are you in the game? Are you self-focused, thinking only about yourself? And unaware of the impact on your children. The best thing fathers can do for their children is to prepare your children for their future. And one of the greatest, most important things that men, I want to challenge you to do is to foster your child's faith. Is their faith more important than sports? Is their faith more important than your schedule and your agenda and your busyness and all of the important things that you do? Do you make it a priority that the number one thing, most of them kids aren't going to make it in college or certainly not going to go pro. We're going to spend all this time and attention and neglect the greatest thing in their life, which is their spiritual heritage. Are you fostering their faith? Now, some of you in here, you're like, I had a bad dad. What does that mean for me? My dad was absent. My dad was a narcissist. Whatever. Pick your flavor of word, of description of your dad. Dad, the word father is not a neutral topic. All kinds of emotions in here. And you're conflicted because you saw the good side of your dad, but also you saw the dark side of your dad, right? And they're both present. And you don't know what to do with it. Do I celebrate the good things about my dad, but he did bad things? Like, how do I do this? It's messy. It's complicated. Yeah, it is. It is messy. It is complicated. But so are you. We're all jacked up. So am I. We're all jacked up. We all need Jesus. And God's still working on us. Friends, God is a father to the fatherless. He's a father to the fatherless. He loves you. He is the greatest father. He is the ultimate father. And He wants to shepherd your heart so that you know how to shepherd and influence your children's heart. Now, how do we do that? I'm going to get really practical. We got to do this. Time plus love. Time plus love. Proverbs 1. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction. Do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland of grace on your head and a chain adorned on your neck. Men, the way that you can instruct your children is to intentionally spend time with them. Some men say, Eric, I love my child. I love my child. That's noble. That you love your child, which is really, really great. But love is not enough. If you don't, do you know how your child spells love? Time. Time. You can say, Eric, I love my dad, I love my child, but if you don't spend time with your children, your child will feel unloved. Why? I'm talking about the great disconnect. The great disconnect. See, your direction, not your intention, determines your destiny. Well, my intention is that I love my children. Well, do you spend time with them? Do you talk to them? Well, I love my child. Great disconnect. It is your direction, not your intention, that determines your destiny. So are you actually spending time with your children? Are you actually talking to your children? Make time to be with them. And I get it. Being a dad is hard. You're in the pressures of your job. You got the drama of your job and relationships, and you got finances, and something's always breaking, right? I mean, the garbage disposal breaks, the dishwasher breaks, your car breaks, you're always looking under the hood, you got to replace tires, and you got to shop, and finances are ever increasing, and you've got children that break bones and children that go in the hospital, and you got medical crisis around the clock. There's always some challenge of some crisis, and who has time? You just want to check out because you're exhausted. I get it. I feel that. You have decision fatigue because you made 40,000 decisions that day and significant decisions and you're tired. But friends, your children spell love, Time, and you cannot influence your children if you are not in relationship with them. Are you making time to be with your children? Friends, the number one regret of men in their 50s is that they didn't spend more time with their children. And some of you feel the weight of that right now. Listen to me. Listen to me. It's never too late. Never too late. As long as you got air in your lungs, you pick up that phone today and you say, you know what? I haven't talked to you in a while, and I just want you to know I'm proud of you. Hey, daughter, you're beautiful. I see you. I value you, and I love you. It is never too late. Men, we have a short window of time. So practically, what do we do? Okay, Eric, that's great. Like, how do we do this? Here's what, let me just share with you. Let me empty my cup. Here's what we do. Here's an idea. 5 days a week, the whole family eats dinner together. It's tough, okay, especially as the kids get older. Ethan's 21, Audrey's 19, Andrew's 16, and Ashley's 10. They all have jobs and they play sports. It's really busy. It's really complicated. I get it. But 5 days a week, our whole family is eating meals together. Let me give you a simple conversation piece. Write this down. When you sit at the dinner table, you ask, we're going to go around the table, and we're going to talk about the highs of the day and the lows of the day. What was exciting? What was beneficial? What was positive about today? And what were the challenges of today? And you just let them talk. and you try to talk the least and let them talk the most, because now you can shepherd their hearts because you know what they're struggling with. There's a ton of statistics on the benefits of just having a meal together as a family. Security, emotional security, identity, confidence, academically. Okay, a whole bunch of stuff. I got to keep going. Okay, there's a whole lot with there. Go for walks with your children. Take the dog for a walk. Get a dog and go for a walk. Maybe that makes an excuse. We got to go for a walk with the dog. And you take your child with you and you walk and you talk. Go to their sports events. Go to their band recitals. Go to other events or plays or dramas that they're in, and you cheer them on. Man, you really missed that play. Man, you struck out. No, don't do that. Don't do that. And by the way, fathers, you're the parent. They're the child. You make time. Man up. You make time to be with your children. Do something fun together. We'll talk about that in a minute. Ephesians says this, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. Are you parenting? Are you fathering wisely? And I get it. We're all busy and pressures of life, and it's hard, and I'm not saying it's easy. Guys, everything great in life is uphill, which means you have to fight for it. Everything great in life is uphill. If you think life is going to be cush and easy and problem-free, I'm sorry, friends, you're just missing it. None of this is easy. That's why most don't do it. It's easy to check out. Look at your phone. Pull to yourself. Disconnect. That's natural. Don't do it. Dads, I want to encourage you to surprise your children periodically with fun things. And some fathers are so cheap. I mean, you spend money on other things, but you won't spend money on your family. I'm not talking about blow your money, but I'm talking about, are you investing your resources in your family and in your children? You know, one dad was so cheap, he went to the thrift store, he needed a black belt, and he bought a brown belt because it was on sale for $5. So he bought it, took it home, put it on the counter, took his black dye out, began to pour it out, and spilled it all over the countertop, all over black dye, all over his floor, all over his clothes, and $700 later, he had his black belt. It was 2 inches too small. Friends, life is hard and disappointing far more than the joys of life. Life is disappointing, life is hard, and life is challenging. You got to make times to have fun together. You know, I went to 2 funerals, one yesterday. Sorry, Ginger. And another one on Thursday. And I listened because these were both fathers that died at a young age. Do you know what the people talked about? Do you know what the children and family members talked about when they got up to talk about at the funeral? They talked about memories. Going to the beach together. Going skiing together. Going fishing together. Hunting together. Being together. Significant conversations. Are you creating fun memories with your children, or are you being cheap? No, you don't have to spend a lot of money. We had so many fun memories as a little boy of my dad just playing catch with me in the front yard. Or we would go on family bike rides to the river. Or we would go to this big shopping parking lot at nighttime and ride as fast as I could. Dad, watch me. Dad, watch how fast I can go. Dad, do you see me? Dad, do I have what it takes? Questions your children have. Fathers, do you tell your daughter that she's beautiful? If not, some other guy will, happily. And he's just going to use her for what he can get out of her. It matters. I'm not trying to beat you up because this is convicting to me. I preach the message. I'm like, well, it's convicting to me. Maybe it's good. I'm not saying I've arrived at all. Okay, one thing our family does every Friday night, our family goes out to Friday night dinner. The whole family. All 6 of us. How do you pay for it? Well, I use my credit card. I get 5% cash back. I invest that in Friday nights, and I spend that on our family so that we can go out to dinner every Friday night. And here's the goal of Friday night. Laugh, connect, have fun. I'm not there to chastise them. I'm not there to get them. This is a time for our family to come together, have a great meal together, to laugh together, to be with one another, to invest one another. And I want to make it so appealing that my kids are going to turn down their invitation to go be with their friends because they so want to be with the family on Friday nights. And when their friend says, hey, you want to come do this cool thing with me? You know what my kids say? Nah, it's Friday night. I want to go be with the family. That was intentional. And then after we go have a great meal together, we go back home, I make homemade cookies, and we watch a movie. And we do that every Friday night. What do you need to do? What does it look like for you to create a fun time, to laugh together, to be together? Number 4, you got to speak words of life to your children. Proverbs 12, the words of the reckless pierce like a sword. You just let your words fly. You open your mouth and let those words come out. The words of the reckless pierce like a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Fathers, you are creating the culture of what is acceptable in your house. Can your kids trash talk and make fun of and be critical of one another? Husbands, do you allow your wife to be critical of you? You're creating a culture of your family. Men, how do you talk to your wife? When one child criticizes another child, do you know what I say? We don't do that here. Yeah, but Dad, my friends, I don't give a rip what your friends do. I mean, I do give a rip, but not in this house. We don't talk that way. We don't treat each other that way. We build each other up in this house. And we have a culture and an environment of love and of safety and unity, and we're going to build each other up. Men, your tone matters. 7% of communication is words. Your tone matters. If you're under a lot of stress, you're under a lot of pressure, which we all are, you're going to be tempted in your pain. Dude, you're going to just get it. You're going to get them. All the anger and frustration of your day is going to be unleashed on your kids. You got to be careful. Do you know what a wise father does when he blows it? And we all blow it, by the way. None of us are Jesus. None of us do this perfectly. If you do, please, I'd like to meet you and get your autograph. What does a wise father do when he blows it? What does a godly father do when he blows it? You know what he does? He owns it. He humbles himself. And he goes to the child and said, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Would you please forgive me? I should have not spoken to you in that way. That's what he does. Proverbs 28, whoever conceals their sin does not prosper, but the one who confesses his sin and renounces them, they find mercy. You are modeling for your children what they need to do when they blow it. So few people that I meet can actually own their junk and own their failings. Very, very few. So rare for me to run across someone that when they blow it said, you know what, I blew it, I'm sorry, I see it, would you forgive me? So rare. Look for it. Next time something happens, see how someone responds. Rarely do people do that because they don't know how to do it because their dad didn't do it with them. I'm sorry. I'm out of time. All right. I want to give you 2 courageous questions. 2 courageous questions. 2 powerful questions to ask your children. Number one, have I done anything or said anything that has hurt you? Maybe you're walking the dog. Question number one, have I done anything or said anything that has hurt you? And then whatever they say, you have to imagine your lips are sealed with a zipper and let them talk. And this is really hard. I get it. It's really hard because you're going to want to respond. You're going to want to defend. You're going to want to deflect. You're going to want to show them all the reasons of why that's illogical or whatever. Just listen. Your goal is to seek to understand. Your goal is to be silent. I want to say, like, don't talk for 5 minutes. Like, let them get it out. Understand their feelings, their emotions, their needs from their viewpoint. Second question. Second courageous question. Ask your child how they're doing. When it's just the two of you. And when they share honestly, and they say, Dad, I don't believe there's a God. Dad, I don't believe the Bible. Dad, I'm addicted to porn. And it's wrecking my soul. Dad, I had sex with my boyfriend. I had sex with my girlfriend. How you respond in that moment, it is so significant. Listen to me. If you respond in a harsh, negative, why would you think that? Why would you think there is no God? That's a ridiculous way of thinking. Do you know what you just did? You told your child, why? That's not my intention. I don't care your intention. Here's what you did. If you respond, how could you think that? That's ridiculous. How could you? Dad, I was using drugs last night. What? And you go off on them in your anger. You know what you just told them? You can't handle them being honest. You're not interested in entering their real struggle. That's what you just did. Proverbs 15, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stir up anger. A gentle answer. Instead of responding harshly, how do you respond? I want you to think like a duck in a water. The duck on the top looks really calm, but underneath his little feet are like inside. You're like, oh my goodness! Did you just drop that bomb on me? You got to act like like they just talked about the weather. Yeah. Hey. Okay. Tell me more. Your children need to know that you can handle them being honest about their struggles. Proverbs 20, the purposes of a person's heart are like deep waters, and the one who has insight draws them out. That's why Jesus was masterful at asking questions. Over 300 times, Jesus asked the questions, and rarely is the issue. We got to seek to first understand. And fathers, I want to encourage you to shepherd your child's heart. Proverbs 18, the tongue has power of life and death, and those who love it eat its fruit. And I got to go toward the end. Fathers, one of the best and most powerful, significant things you can do is call out the glory in your children. You're looking for their glory. Hey, you're really good at that. You are at your best. Men, listen to me. Listen to me. You look at me. You are at your best when you call out the glory in your children. I see you. I see your glory. Bravo. Attaboy. Every child is secretly saying, does Dad see me? At the end of Disney movies, our family would break out, except Dad, into like a dance party because this white boy can't dance. And so they were all dancing. And it's like, Dad, do you see me dance? Dad, do you think I've got some good moves? Dad, watch me do this. Dad, watch me whip. and watch me nay-nay, okay? And so they're all going like, Dad's just watching because Dad can't do any of that. But I'm going, bravo, hey, laughing, we're having fun together. Do your children enjoy being with you? Are you engaged with them? Or are you checked out, thinking just consumed with yourselves and the problems and the dramas of your life and the pressures? And I get it. It is hard. Oh, I'm way over time. One more thing. Can you handle one more? Every birthday of every family member, you choose the dinner place. Got to rack up a lot of extra points sometimes. You choose. And we go out to dinner, and we celebrate you. It drives me crazy. Some people are like, yeah, I can't tell too many good things because you'll get a big head. No, actually, the opposite will happen. You'll get a big head when someone doesn't celebrate you and acknowledge you. That's a whole nother sermon. I got to stick to point. All right. Sunday morning, birthday. Go out to dinner. Make it all about them, and we celebrate them. And every family member calls out the glory in that child, and tears flow. And it's significant, and it's meaningful, and it matters. You are at your best when you call out the glory in your children. And by the way, if you've never done that at birthdays, don't do this flippant thing like, yeah, you're a good kid. Yeah, okay, great. Put some energy into it. Think about him. Tonight, we're going to celebrate my child. And I want you to think about and come prepared to call out their glory. We are way over time, but I don't really care right now. Would all the men stand up? All the men stand up. And I'm going to have all the men come forward. I know you're like, what are you doing to us, Eric? Okay, all the men come forward. Just come on. We're going to pray over you. All the fathers come forward. Guys, you play a significant role. And we're going to call that out. Yes, absolutely. Come on, let's huddle in. Let's huddle in. Let's huddle in. Let's huddle in. Arms, shield to shield. In this house, we're going to call you up. We believe in you. We celebrate you. We value you. We're not going to devalue you. We're not going to crush your manhood. We're not going to stomp on your manhood. We're going to call it up because it matters and your families matter. And you play a critical role that only you can play. Only you can play. They have one Father, and that's you. So what kind of culture are you shaping? What kind of legacy are you leaving? I love you. I'm not yelling at you. I'm preaching to myself as well as preaching to you. But you play a critical role. And we're going to fan into that flame. And we're going to impact our day. We can't change, we can't change yesterday. Yeah, we blew it yesterday. I blew it yesterday, just like you did. Maybe last week. We've all blown it. But the righteous man gets back up. He falls 7 times, but he gets back up. Today we're getting up. And we're going to ask God, we can't do this in our own power. We can't do this in our own strength. We need Jesus' strength. And wives, we need you to be supportive. You see your men stepping up. Bravo! Great job! Great job! Let's be a little less critical and a little more supportive and a little more cheering on. You have no idea the pressures men face, fathers face, just like we don't know the pressures you face. Jesus, we need your power. God, I pray for these men that came forward. I pray that you'd get your dump truck and pour out grace and mercy and wisdom and strength to steward that which you have entrusted to them, which is leading and discipling their children and their families in a way that matters. So, Lord, we confess our sins. We acknowledge our shortcomings, our shortfalls, where we missed the mark. We own it and we confess it. And we confess we need your grace and mercy because we can't do this in our strength. So, Lord, as these men stand here, remind them of the significant role they play. Encourage them. Fan into the flame the gift and the calling and the significance of what you've asked them to do. For we ask this in Jesus' powerful and mighty name we pray. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated.